Ready, set, go.
Welcome to The Sweet Spot, an UpDog podcast. I'm Andrea Morissette.
And I am Jack Bailey, and we are your hosts today. We do not have a guest, however, today, but we do have an exciting topic. What's our exciting topic, Dre?
What in the world of disc dogging is going on in June of 2025? So we're coming up to the end of May. We wanted to talk about what's happening in the world of disc dogging in the month of June. So that's our topic today. And
So in these episodes, if you've never listened to a What's Up episode, we scour the internets and we see what have been the hot topics for May, and we give you kind of an update on the hot topics for May. And then if there are any things coming up in June that we can make you aware of, we try to do that as well. If you are a club and you've got stuff coming up, and maybe you didn't make it for this episode, but if you've got things going on in July or August, put them on either the discussion page or let Dre and I know through email or Facebook Messenger or something, and we'll get your stuff on this type of podcast so that all of our listeners know that you've got a cool competition coming up.
Yeah. Are you ready to hit the ground running here, Jack?
Let's go. So right. I think am I up first?
You're first.
So one of the things, I mean, why not start with this? On the UpDog Discussion Page, there was a post about podcasts, and the moderators over there were letting people know that, hey, there's some cool UpDog podcasts out there, and they put it out there that if you had one, go ahead and put your name in the comments so that people can be aware. So, of course, I put our podcast, the Sweet Spot Podcast, on there. And first of all, I want to say we got a bunch of likes from some fans. So thank you guys for liking our comment on there. And then there's only been 2 podcasts that have posted on there so far, ours and then the Inspire Dog podcast from our friends Ben and Anna. Theirs is also posted on there. But in the future, if you are wanting to know more about what disc dogging podcasts there are out there, hop onto the UpDog Discussion Page. That's not our discussion page, but the UpDog Discussion Page. Type in podcasts, and that post will come up. And that way, there, hopefully, you'll see any podcasts that has to do with disc dogging.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about the Inspire podcast, we actually had the host of the Inspire podcast on our podcast, so we could drop a link below to that one. I don't know, has that one gone?
Well, that one actually will be coming out after this one. It'll probably be the next episode after they hear this one.
Perfect.
So be on the lookout for that.
Look for some information about the Inspire podcast. Yeah, that's the other one that's on there. All right, so UpDiff feedback episode. We had our survey. And so when we put out a survey, that was very loud. When we put out a survey at the end of UpDiff, we take your answers very seriously. So hopefully if you see those surveys, you do take a few minutes to fill out the answers, because each of us, the founders, do review each and every answer. And not only that, but we also have a meeting just to talk about the feedback that we got from UpDiff and what things that we could put in place in order to improve next year. And so we did a podcast episode about our feedback this year, which was very fun.
We did 2 of them.
Actually, a 2-parter, because we had so much to say. And so that was fun. It got a little spicy. It was exciting. We had a lot of opinions. Lots of the comments about the running order apps also. That isn't our main concern for UpDiff, but it is communication outside of Facebook. So your comments on the survey, however, have inspired us to look at some different running order apps and perhaps partner with somebody to get something created specifically for UpDog, because we did hear your feedback this year that not everybody's on Facebook. And we get that not everybody's on Facebook, so we're trying to find a third-party app solution or something as kind of a central mode of communication for UpDiff so that everybody can get all the information they need about what's happening, all the live fact sheet stuff, where they're going to be, what time everything's happening, when the runs are happening, the activities, in some sort of third-party app that is not Facebook. So we heard your feedback in the survey, And that's something that we're working on to make it more universally accessible for everybody.
Yeah, and it'll likely be two products because we know that there's like the running order app one, like Dre said, isn't necessarily our priority, but
Right.
we saw that you guys were interested in that, so we'll investigate that. Um, if you know anything about this app, one that was mentioned a bunch in the comments was Discord.
Yep.
So we're looking into that one. And we're just going to try and find something that'll help us communicate efficiently and reliably. I think reliably is probably the
Yeah.
key because sometimes, we can communicate through Facebook, but if the algorithm doesn't push that post onto your feed, you don't get the message. So we want to make sure everybody stays in touch.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So this one was interesting. I mean, I feel like every time we have one of these episodes, we're talking about like freestyle vaulting.
Protection.
So there must be like people seriously getting bruised up and like
Yeah.
cut up and stuff like that when they're doing their practicing. And I can't say that that's never happened to me. It definitely has. Most of the time, it's like a face vault or a neck vault that gets me. Um,
It's those leg vaults for people, man. It's the leg vaults for sure. Especially and most people when they're learning, they're first learning freestyle, they start with leg vault. And that's where you're
True.
gonna get scratched up the most is when you're first learning and your accuracy isn't great, and your timing isn't great, and your dog's learning. So thigh sleeves, thigh protection has been a really big conversation in the disc dog community for a while.
So that's what kind of came up, and I saw that that post kind of blew up a little bit about the thigh protection for vault. So you mentioned thigh sleeves. That's just
Yeah.
like a slip-on product or like a wraparound
Yeah.
with a Velcro, right?
No, I think when people first started developing these, it was literally it's like a neoprene flap with a piece of Velcro.
Velcro.
And people would put it around their upper thigh. And if you saw this at any point when they were first used, they were around their ankle within 30 seconds of them running around. So, like, this has been a persistent issue with these thigh sleeves. Several different companies have developed them. I don't know that I've ever heard one of the wrap around regular thigh sleeves that stayed on for sure in freestyle. Mostly it's people hiking them back up and readjusting them. I did see one in use by several different players now, and it's not designed to be a it's not thigh sleeve, it's on Amazon. But it's actually like a hip protection thing, and you put it on kind of like pants and you strap the waistband around and it has a single leg sleeve on it. So it's just shorts, like not it's a short, not a long short, but a short leg on one side and it wraps around your waist and so it doesn't fall down.
Is
So
that
it,
like
it
the thing that like Lara Croft wears in Tomb Raider to hold her
looks sort
gun?
of like that. You could, but it's a whole leg sleeve instead of just a gun little strap on the side. Yeah. So that
Okay.
machine actually offers the thigh protection, doesn't fall down. Downside, it doesn't look great, right? It's going to be like a bulkier something or other that you put on like more like a vaulting vest because it has like you put your legs through both sides and you're wrapping it around your waist. So like it's a larger piece of equipment versus just a flap around your thigh, but I've noticed it stays up. It's
Yeah.
adjustable, it's durable. So if you're having trouble with that, I would probably, one, go check out the post for sure. On that page to see the options that people have put in, but I've seen that one instance where it has like this waist part that's adjustable with Velcro, and I feel like that's the one that stays up better for the leg vaults.
I've also seen some people wear like neoprene shorts. Like I've
Hmm.
seen them. I know that uh, kids and stuff. Well, I'm sure it's more than just kids, but I just saw it with kids at the motocross. They wear like shorts that are they have like padding in it
Yep.
but it's like a neoprene padding for BMX and motorcycle
Yeah.
motocross stuff. So you might look into that. Also, like surfers have the neoprene like wetsuit kind of things that are just shorts. They're not like a full pant wetsuit. Those could also be
You could also chop
good.
off one short. If you don't want both the shorts, right? You could just have like the little panty part and one leg.
Yeah, but then you got to do all your leg vaults with that one leg, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think people are really leg vaulting off the other leg.
Oh, okay.
Leg vault off of both legs?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't really do like a traditional leg vault, but I do like a leg slash hip vault off of both legs. I don't really do leg vaults because my legs are too skinny. My dogs like miss the vaulting platform.
That's why dogs slip so much on legs vaults, is because legs are skinny.
Yeah.
It's
So I
gotta be-
always kind of do like a like thigh hip kind of
Yeah,
vault. But
yeah.
yeah, I do those off both sides.
All right, so maybe don't chop the leg off then. Just
I
keep
mean,
both
to each their
for you.
own. I mean,
For
I
you.
would like to look like Tomb Raider.
You should just leave a little strap at the top, cut the rest of it out, and then have a strap at the other top, so you have like your thigh exposed with a little strap at the bottom and a
Uh,
little piece on the side.
Definitely some performance points there. Maybe not for me, but maybe for other folks.
I like it, Jack. That one's a win. That one's a win.
All right.
Um, all right. So right now there is a buy one get one free sale. This does not happen. I don't know that I've ever seen a buy one get one free sale at Hero Disc USA, but right now there is a buy one get one free sale for extra freestyle discs. So the 235 extras in the color white, they're blowing them out, buy one get one free. So even if they're just practice discs and you're just going to save your color discs for when you're competing, this is a fantastic deal on extras. Do not miss it. Head over to the Hero Disc USA site, buy the white freestyle extras. They are buy one get one free. And I think I've been
And
Team Hero for 15 years. I don't think I've ever seen I don't think I've ever seen
I don't remember anything like that. Yeah. So they must have a bunch of them to get
a bunch of
to
extras.
blow those out.
And for the people that are dying discs
Uh,
too, like maybe you want to if your dog doesn't beat up those discs a whole lot, buy those extras and dye them up and have some pretty designs to sell.
yep. All right. Oh, this was a big one on our discussion page recently. People want to know about, like, I guess there's just some clarification involved with the Fireball sweet spot
Yep.
and how you get points at the end with the Fireball sweet spot. So I understand kind of the need for some clarification and maybe some confusion because there's lots of things that could happen in the final seconds. And I did put out a clarifying video, Fireball video, that does cover some of this, not all of it, but essentially, here's some things that could happen. You throw the disc into the sweet spot that's an open zone at the end of the round, and it happens during the Fireball bonus round. Instead of the 4 points that the sweet spot is worth, if it's your last catch of the game, then it's double points. It's 8 points. If that happens while the Fireball music is going on, it's double double. So that makes it 16 points. If, however, let's say I throw the disc before the tee in time, Fireball music is still going on, the disc is floating, Fireball music ends, the timer says time, so the game's over, right? But the Fireball music is not playing anymore. My dog catches it. It's the last catch in the sweet spot, 8 points, not
Open zone.
16.
If it's an open zone.
Yeah, right, of course. Yeah, all of this so far is if it's an open zone. Now, let's say time's ticking down and it's a closed zone because you already got a catch.
Right.
Once the final fireball starts happening, then you could open that zone back up again by throwing catch in there. That now means you got no points for that zone. But if you then throw another one,
Then you'll get the
again,
16.
that's 16 points as long as the fireball music is still going
Right.
on.
There's only like 5 seconds at the end, right? So like that
There's
means quick. Yeah.
7 seconds at the end, so it's got to be quick. But even if you just opened it up with the first throw and got the second throw off on time, if a dog catches it while the fireball music's still happening, it would be 16 points. If the music stops, time ends, and your dog gets a catch, 8 points. So it's still more than the 4 that you had.
Right.
But anyway, there's a ton of different scenarios there that happen at the end of the round, and I know there was a big comment thread about all of those different ones. So hopefully this cleared up a little bit. And like I said, I put out a little video if you want to watch that as well on Fireball. You can access it on YouTube, and it's also, I posted it in the discussion page.
Yeah, and Brian is programming Fireball. So as soon as it's programmed, it'll show up. We're definitely working on it. He is programming Fireball. So as soon as that's programmed, all the stats are going to show up. They're not disappeared, they're not lost. They're out there in our database ready to be plugged into the programming, but right now Brian is still working on programming for Fireball.
Yeah, I know somebody was asking about like the high score, and
Yeah.
we just simply don't know
Don't know
because
yet.
I mean, first of all, everybody's playing Fireball right now because it's in Bike Club, and we've got 800 teams playing Bike Club, so there's results coming in, you know,
Daily.
daily on Fireball. Um, I do know that some good scores in the high 80s I've heard about those. I haven't heard of anything in the 90s yet. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but I've heard some
Dr.
high
Worm get
scores
it
in
in
the
the 80s
80s.
too?
What's that?
Didn't Dr. Worm get in the 80s at UpDiff this year? Isn't that the one that
Probably.
won?
There were a couple that got in the 80s, but I think it was the lower to mid 80s. I
Yeah.
don't think anybody got over an 85 at UpDiff, but
Yeah, and UpDog X, I think it was the same. It was in the 80s. So I think that that's kind of what we're looking at. Somewhere in the 80s is our high score range right now. We don't have all the data because stuff's coming in, but we've seen scores in the 80s. So if anybody cracks in the 90s, you can probably guess that you have our high score potentially.
yeah.
But we haven't seen anything over the 80s that we are aware of at the moment. So to give people an idea, and on that post, people can chime in with the scores they got, and see who shows up with the highest score on there. But with it being in Bike Club, it's happening right now, so we'll see
Yeah.
what scores come in this week.
Yeah, and I think Fireball's been in a couple of the weeks, right, Kat?
No, just week 4.
Oh, just week 4. Okay, I don't know what I'm talking about. Just week 4.
I usually
Um,
don't know what I'm talking about, Jack, so I'm there with you.
Kat keeps me up to date, so
I
that's
keep it
good.
all in line, thank God.
Um, I keep thinking that I have a strategy for Fireball, and then I go out and use it, and
It's
it gets all
broken.
messed up. So
It's that
I don't know what the best strategy is yet. And
it's
I
the
think,
variable timer for me. It's just I can't I don't I it's like I need to have a banked plan of discs I won't spend until the fireball comes up. But the first time and I think it's maybe this is the first time I played it as PTSD because the first time I played it I got the latest timer. And as I released my eighth disc, that's when fireball came up. And so I spent the whole fireball running around picking up discs. I didn't get a single bonus. So I mean, like I'm like, all right, well that strategy didn't work. I
but
could
it
play
could have.
slower. I could play slower, more conservative, make sure I get catches until the fireball comes up, and then have a plan of which zone's going to hit with fireball, right? And then go back and pick this up. But yeah, I haven't figured it out either. I've only played it a couple times, and mentally, I haven't quite figured out what the best preparation is for a variable timer that doesn't impact the rest of the game, right? So like you can just play with 4 and keep 4, or you can just go for what I did. I just went for it and then had no discs left when the timer came on. So
Yeah, I mean the variable timer definitely throws you know,
a wrench in it.
yeah. And that's the point. But I also
Why you
think
gotta
that
be so mean, Jack?
well, I also think that there are some strategies that would work most of the time.
Well, we'll talk about those.
Sometimes you might get bad luck, like you said, like yours came really late or something, but like I don't know, I'm still working it out.
Yeah. We should have some strategy conversation after this episode so we don't tell everybody what the plan is. But when you figure out that strategy, you just let me know, okay?
All right, I will do that. All right, next up, Dre, talk to us
Qualifying
about
points.
qualifying points.
Yeah, Kat has been working hard behind the scenes as usual. And Kat put up yesterday our qualifying points for 2026 UpDiff. So if you guys were wondering what the point thresholds were going to be for each of our games, go over to the Dog Discussion page. There is a post there with the updated live fact sheet. So it is
That's
going
the
to be on the
UpDog
live fact.
discussion
Is
page.
that what I said?
No, you said Dog.
Oh, UpDog. So I meant to say UpDog discussion page on our live fact sheet for UpDiff 2026. That's where it's added. So it's not a separate sheet. It's on the live fact sheet. The live fact sheet has everything, all the information about UpDiff. So as we update, we will be updating the live fact sheet. So check the live fact sheet that's posted on the UpDog discussion page. And there is now the qualifying criteria for each of our games for 2026 has been updated on that sheet. So go grab that information there.
And I spoke to Brian this morning. He said that the team site will be updated within a couple days to have all of that information. So hopefully by the time that you guys hear this, it's been updated so you can check it out on the team site as well. But that live fact sheet that Dre's talking about, like she said, it's on the UpDog Challenge discussion page. It's posted or pinned, I guess is the right term, at the top of the page. This was interesting seeing this next one, Dre, on our discussion page, on the UpDog discussion page. And it kind of blew up. We had like 40 or 50 comments on this topic, which was Skyhounds discs. Many UpDoggers also play Skyhounds,
Mhm.
and there's two right here, two UpDoggers that play Skyhounds. And when you play Skyhounds, you must use Skyhounds discs.
Yep.
And so the question was, what Skyhounds discs do you use, and which ones are the best ones for flight? Which ones are the best ones for hard biting dogs? Blah blah blah. So, if you have any questions about Skyhounds discs, definitely hit up that post that's been on the UpDog Challenge discussion page. Dre, what's your favorite Skyhounds disc to
I
throw?
was hoping you would ask that, Jack. My favorite is the CS, the comp standard. By far, I think, so Skyhounds discs, other than the Z discs, are made on a K10 mold, which is different from the fastback mold that the Hero discs are made from. So the shape of their discs is slightly different than the fastback, the original Frisbee, and all of the Hero discs are all made with that original fastback mold. The Hyperflight mold is called K10, not the Z discs, the other ones. I don't like Z discs. Everybody knows that. Um, we don't have to get in that conversation, but I do like the K10 mold. I think there's some benefits to it. The edge of the disc lip has a bit more of a hook on it. So when you're throwing sidearm or you're doing any fidgets or anything like that of the disc, that hook on the rim gives a little extra grip for different freestyle throws. Also, I noticed the CS, the comp standard disc, which is that's their light plastic, is very, very durable under very high amounts of damage. Those discs can be chewed up through a lawnmower and they're gonna throw reliably. They don't turn over and flip a whole lot. So I like that because I don't like throwing Jaws discs unless it's for toss and fetch. Jaws discs fall way too fast for me. I call them flying bricks. Um, so if I was to be playing freestyle with a harder bite dog, like Capiche can't play with comp standards, she would destroy them. I could just sacrifice them, but then she would cut her mouth. So I'm not so concerned about like the cost because I think the CS would still fly well if it was damaged well, but she would end up cutting her mouth. So for me, I would go X comp for Capiche because the X comp is in between the CS plastic and the Jaws plastic. It doesn't fall quite as fast, but it's still durable. So I would do X comp for Capiche. I would do CS for Magic because I like the float time. But if I had the option, I would play CS with everybody. And for toss and fetch, um, I like the newer model of Jaws discs, like the yellow ones for Magic because they're soft but they still hold pretty well. There's a big variability between those discs and the color. So like the white and the yellow are more firm, the blue and the red are softer, the black are a little softer. So it depends. They fly different depending on that. They have a different mouth feel depending on that. So I have these old school, discontinued before X Flash came out from 10 years ago, Jaws discs that I
That's
have.
probably like 15 years ago.
They're shiny. They're shiny black, and
Yeah.
I have a set of those still that I've hoarded with cold dead fingers. That's what I use for toss and fetch. I can lean on those suckers, and they do not flip. The jaws will flip and then come down real hard, stable. So for toss and fetch, I throw jaws just because that's the heavy disc that they have available. I like my old school ones because they're more stable. But for freestyle, I like the X comps because they don't fall quite as bricky as the jaws do. And then I like CS for any dog that doesn't have really hard bite. But I've had to use a variety of them. Like if I've had a soft mouth dog, I've used the purple ones. So I mean, I've used the pup ones. I've used soft flights before with dogs with soft mouths. I would prefer to never have to use those, but I feel like they have good solutions for dogs that can't take a regular impact of like a harder disc. The purple ones are great for that, and the soft lights are really great for that for a non-durable one. I just don't like throwing any of them. I feel like they're terrible to throw. But I wasn't throwing them for me. I was using those because the dog needed it. So that's kind of my summary of what I use. I love the CS. If I was going to use something that wasn't Hero, I would be a CS thrower. What do you think, Jack?
I use Jaws pretty much for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, all my guys right now are pretty hard biting. They would destroy a CS pretty quick in a freestyle round. Um, but I mean, I'm not a huge fan of how they fly, but you also just gotta figure out how to throw them a little bit
Yep.
differently. I put a lot more anhyzer in freestyle on those Jaws discs than I ever would when I'm playing with my heroes. It'll give you a little bit more float, and you know, like Dre said, they're kind of flying bricks. They just drop unless you put some nice spin on it, put a
Like
little
good spin, yeah.
anhyzer, and they'll float a little bit better. But yeah, I play Jaws with everybody, even my micro dogs. The only different disc that I use now, since Spice is older, she likes the really gummy Hyperflex Jaws pups.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I'm sure her mouth is getting more sensitive and her teeth are getting more sensitive. She actually loves that one, brings it all the way back, which for Spice is crazy. She always used to drop early, but
Drop it right before the line, make you run up again.
yeah, you remember. But she loves chomping that one on the way back, so she
Yeah.
actually hangs on to it longer than she typically would. But
I
yeah,
had to play with those
like
too.
like Dre said, I think that one. I mean, truth be told, if I have an option, I'm gonna play with hero discs. But just like Dre said, I do think that Skyhounds has a number of options for different situations. Like the Hyperflex disc is great for an older dog or a puppy that's got a softer bite or going through teething or something like that. And then they have discs like their frost, what is it, frost proof, the yellow ones.
Um, yeah, I can see it in my head, but I don't remember what they're called. Those are
I
for
think it's
frozen
I think it's
conditions.
called something like that, like frost proof or whatever. I mean, obviously I play in Florida, so I don't need discs like that too often, but sometimes, like even just going up to like a North Georgia event or something like that, and it's cold, those discs, man, they get hard. And so like if you have solutions like that, it's kind of nice so that you don't hurt the dog's mouth or, they are cutting their tongue on chomp discs or anything like that. All
Yep.
right. I think that's enough about
That
Skyhound.
was steady. That was that was a lot of conversation about
That
that one.
was. I gave them a lot of time there. All
All
right.
right. USDDN. There was a post about what is a zigzag and how can you make sure the judges see and count your zigzag. And
So
yes.
pause for a second, just
What is
for
a
our
zigzag?
listeners. So USDDN is a different dog organization. Stands for United States Disc Dog Nationals, right?
Something like that, yeah.
And anyways, it is, in my opinion, the only other organization that provides decent feedback and has a solid criteria for their freestyle rounds,
For
similar
judges,
to
yeah.
UpDog. So why this is so important, why somebody would care about a zigzag is why, Dre. I just know we have a lot of folks that probably aren't familiar.
So USDDN's format, there's still a human, a dog, and there's a team judge and a success judge. So it's a standard format. The team judge, however, is different in that there's 7 categories that they're judging. So they're not judging the experience of watching your routine at all. They really don't get to, the team judge, which is usually the head judge, does not really get to enjoy the experience of the routine. They're looking for 7 different categories. So they're looking for 2 different vaults, 2 different dog catches, 2 different overs, directional movement, which is the element that we're talking about, team movement, multiples, and passing. So those are our 7 categories. And I think that was 7. Anyway, the directional movement is the one that we're talking about. And directional movement is to show that a dog can work on a working flank away from the handler. And there's supposed to be 4 throws in this directional movement. It's showing a skill. The skill criteria is that the dog has to stay on a working flank away from the handler. Passing is really close to the handler. So there's a distinction there, and it's a different skill for the dog. There's 3 different ways we can show directional movement. We can show it by a zigzag, which almost everyone does, and that's 4 throws back and forth, back and forth. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That if you were to relate that to an UpDog game, that would be boom. Or 4-way play, because 4-way play was really designed to create this skill for directional movement in both capacities. Boom really only works the zigzag. The other one is around the world, and that's 4 throws in a circular flanking motion. And that's where four-way play would fill in because you can go around four-way play in a circle or in a zigzag fashion. And then there is another one where you would throw 1, 2, 3, 4 in a straight line. Most people don't do that. The fourth one is really hard to get a trick throw at that distance, at interception, all that. So you don't really see the 1, 2, 3, 4 in a line as directional movement very often. It is counted as directional movement. But you don't see that very often. The one that they were talking about was the zigzag, where you basically set the dog out on a line and then the dog has 4 catches back and forth. If there's only 3, it's not directional movement. It has to be 4. The question was whether that segment counted as directional movement because the first throw was questionable as whether or not whether the flank was set or not. And so that's what the question was. Did I translate that in a way that made sense? I don't know if that made sense.
Yeah, I think that was helpful to anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about when we say USDDN. And so they're looking for these different elements, like Dre said, and
He wasn't sure if this would count as directional movement, so we posted a video and got mixed feedback, but the main judges were like, it probably wouldn't be directional movement. And the gist of it is that when you're competing, especially when you're competing in USDDN format and there's very specific criteria in order to like check a box, you need to make it really clear to the judge what you're trying to showcase. And so there were several different suggestions on there about how you can like do a handler movement or a team movement or a trick or something first, pause, and then go into your directional movement. And that will showcase it clearer to the judge. It usually lets the judge know, hey, I'm about to show you something, pay attention.
Right.
And then team judge, it makes it a little easier for them to see it. I will say as a team judge, having judged for a long time as well as you have, Jack, the easier the team, like we're not handed, like in figure skating, they're handed a skill sheet. The judges are handed a skill sheet and they know what the skill is that the skater is going to be doing, what the point value and difficulty of that is, and then whether they hit all the criteria of that depends on the point value, right? We don't get any of that. We have to like try and figure out what you're doing, and then that's what it is, and then it fits in that criteria, and then assess the difficulty. So the easier that you can make it for the judge to first be able to discern what's happening, what you're trying to show, and then make sure it's so obvious that you're showing that they don't just pick up that you're showing it halfway through and you kind of lose the credit for the first half. But this interesting part that I want to talk about with this wasn't even necessarily about directional movement directly or fulfilling that criteria. Because this has been on my mind. It's great. It's one of our questions today. It's like so many routines have directional movement. So many have directional movement, and so few of those people seriously compete in USDDN. They're updoggers. And they're building it off USDDN criteria and holding fast to this. I have to have all 4 of these directional movement throws. And you don't. Like, you don't have to have 4 to showcase that your dog can use a working flank in USDDN, in our format, in UpDog format, or in Skyhounds format, or in AWI format, or in PIDC format. Like, you don't have to show 4 back and forth. That is a specific criteria for USDDN format to check a box.
yeah,
But if you're not at USDDN, you
you
don't
have to worry about that as much.
you don't
Yeah.
have to wrap this difficult package together that's uncomfortable for you or your dog. Like your dog is not great at tracking those. You're not great at showcasing really difficult throws at a distance like that. You don't have to have it. Maybe you just showcase, like, let's say your first 2 are kind of easy and then your last 2 are your best throws. Maybe you just showcase your 2. And then the rest of them, like, do something else with that 10, 15 seconds. Because really, your directional movement takes about 25, 30 seconds of your routine. And that's a quarter of, like, the whole time that you have. And so if you want to spend that much time on something that's a skill that isn't even measured in the organization that you're focusing on playing, that recently like occurred to me, and I was like, I started telling students, like, you don't have to do all 4 of those. Like, pick your best 2, especially if you have a 2-minute routine and you're looking to like put more cool stuff in there and you don't have enough time. Take out 1 or 2 of your directional movement throws, man, or take out your directional movement. You don't even need to have it in.
Even in USDDN, you only have to do, what is it, 4 of the 7?
Well, you don't have to do anything, but the top 4 of the 7 are what count. So the more of the elements that you do, the better chance that you could drop your 3 lowest scores if you miss something, right? So strategically, it's best to have all 7 categories, but you don't have to have a vault, you don't have to have an over, you don't have to have a dog catch. For those people whose dogs don't like dog catches, you don't have to train that.
Right.
It just you're focusing on 6 categories
Or
anyway.
like now you have to have two dog catches to count
Yeah.
as the category. I only had one dog catch in my routine, and with one of my dogs, I didn't even change it. I'm like, I don't care. I have other elements. I'm going to do other stuff. I'm not counting on this dog catch as an element, but I am counting on it as a cool ending to my routine. So I'm still going to end with the dog catch. It just won't count for one of my elements,
Right.
which I think is what Dre is saying is like, if it's not going to count for one of your elements in USDDN, or you're playing other organizations that don't care whether you do one or two dog catches,
Yeah.
then you don't have to worry about it. I think I have a love-hate with the elements in
Kyle.
USDDN
Yeah.
because I do think it's helpful to
Give structure
somebody,
how to
especially
build.
somebody that's just trying to put together a routine. It's helpful to give them like, hey, you could do this element, you could do this element. Like that's helpful. So I really like that part of it. But the other side of me is like, don't tell me what to do. It's called freestyle,
Limiting. It's
right?
limiting also. Yeah, if you're trying
Yeah.
to get all seven of those categories in, you don't have a lot of extra time left. Like if I'm developing my routine for USDDN, it is developed around those seven elements and getting them in at the best time and the highest level of those skills. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm not thinking about the difficulty of my out throws and anything other than my directional movement or my passing. Right. So like the whole routine can be structured around it. I think it's great as a tool to structure your routine around USDDN format because I do feel like if you have a routine that can win USDDN, I think you can win anything. I still believe that's true. And if we're not playing USDDN right now, we don't need to be married to all of those elements. And even if you are playing USDDN, you could still win with just four elements of the seven. So you don't have to like train things that are uncomfortable for you and your dog or aren't your strengths or aren't fun for you. Any of
Find your
that.
points, people.
Find your
Find your
points, people.
points.
You need to find your point sticker, Jack. I think
All
we need to
right.
find your
I'll
point
work
sticker.
on that
A pod
after
head
the
and a find your
greedy
point sticker.
after the greedy shirt. What was it? Greedy shirt, the move most game or something? Like
Yeah, it's something. We have a lot of merch
what
apparently
was
that we
it?
need to put out.
The most moving game or something. Yeah. All right. We got to start writing these things down.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Somebody's got
stickers.
somebody's got to keep track of all of our ideas. All right, what's the next question, Jack?
All right, so this is a quick one. Dean Shavit put this post out in the UpDog Challenge discussion page, and it reminded me of this product because I hadn't thought about it for a couple years. But a few years back in the UpDiff Players Pack, everybody got a really cool, like made out of like a hard foam frisbee that floated. Now,
Mm.
there's other discs that are out there that people say they float, but they usually float for like a little bit and then they sink.
Mm.
Like if you're throwing a Hero or a Skyhounds disc, it might float for a little while, but if the dog smacks it and hits it and it tips a certain way, all of a sudden it's at the bottom of the pool.
Yeah.
These do float. But the other thing about them that's cool is they don't fly like crap. Like
Hmm.
a lot of times when you have like a foam disc, it flies like this and then immediately turns this way and
Stable.
like and yeah, these actually fly decent. So they're great for like, playing with your dog around the pool. Great for dock if you want to try to throw out, a disc in front of you. So the disc is called the ProFit Flying Disc
I have to look that up.
and it's made by Coastal Pet Products. And you can find it on Amazon or you can buy it directly from Coastal Pet Products. They were an UpDiff sponsor like 3, 4 years back. It also reminded me I need to reach out to them for next year and see if they'd like to be a sponsor again because it was kind of a unique item that we hadn't seen before. So you can buy it on Amazon. It's like 17 bucks, something like that. And they're durable as well. They don't break down too quick.
This is the foam one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's not something you would. That's it. Yep.
Let's see if
It's
the
very blurry. It actually in real life, it's actually clear.
there you go.
There you go.
Does it be on the same level as my face? So it's one of the I've seen these before.
Yeah, it's not something that you would use for like toss and fetch or like freestyle or anything like that. But like I said, around the pool, just in the backyard, or playing definitely dock. I know a lot of people use them for their dock diving disc.
Yeah,
So anyway, check it out.
that's a cool one. I didn't know about that one. All right. So the last item, Jack, is what we're up to for May and coming up in the end of May and what's coming up in June. You doing any teaching? Got any seminars going? You got any courses, online courses going? What you got?
So the 31st of May and the 1st of June, I'm in Ohio at Doggone It.
Yep.
And then I think that's it for June, right? We'll talk about other stuff later. And then I do have a um I have a coaching cycles that you guys can find on Clean Run. It's called Hansei, the Hansei coaching cycles. Hansei is a Japanese term that basically means relentless reflection for the sake of self-improvement. And
Dog name.
What's that?
The dog name.
Hansei? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's obviously I was a teacher for a long time. There's something called Japanese lesson study that I did a lot with teachers in the education field, and I think it would work great as a coaching cycle for folks wanting to get better at disc dogging. So if you want to check that out, again, it's available at Clean Run, and you can find that there. That's
Awesome.
what I got going on. What do you got, Dre?
I have been busy all month, but I got Reno. Same weekend that you're going to Ohio. I'm going out to Reno, one of my favorite clubs out there. It is so beautiful. The mountains out there, and it's on like a wild horse rescue. So I get to like go up and down the streets and see like random wild horse groups walking up and down residential streets. So that group is super awesome, but that's one of the coolest things about it is like whoever in their life gets to like have up close encounters with wild horses. That club is super cool to go visit.
That's cool.
And I'm not doing really anything in June. I'm going up to judge Hot Jam. No, not Hot Jam. Land of Oz. I'm excited about that. So I'm going up to judge the Skyhounds event and the quad in Kansas City the next weekend. So Reno, and then I'm judging. So I'm really excited to just see Missouri friends. And then I got nothing going on the rest of June. It's too hot. But in July, I'm going out to Connecticut to teach. So I do have I think that one's already full with a wait list. So that's not open. And then after that, it'll just be whatever's going on.
This is not helpful. This is not helpful to people if you don't have spaces available.
If anybody wants a seminar in June or July, let me know because
there you go.
We're all full. So I have lots of time. It's a hot time of month. So, northern states are great places to do these things in June and July or indoors. But for most of the southern states down here, we're pretty much out of it June and July. So I'll be doing, Zoom training and the usual stuff. But any road time is not going to be seminar really in June and July. It's too hot. So if anybody wants to keep me or Jack busier than we are not in June and July, to let us know. And we'll be there sharing some disc dogs.
Only northern cool areas can apply.
Northern cool areas can apply, please. Nothing in Texas or Florida. Thank you very much in June or July. It's too hot.
Yeah, it's actually very sad for the dogs in June, July, and August. They don't get to do much. It's so hot during the day they can't go out, and then in the evenings 50% of the time it's raining, so that gets to be a challenge to get your dogs out and play.
Yeah.
But
people think Florida weather's perfect, but it has an off season also, and it's in the middle of the year when everybody else gets to play.
Right.
The off season is in the summer. Can't play your dogs at all. It's too hot. You could probably do crack of dawn in the morning, or in the evening, the rain when it's so humid you can't even breathe the air, and the mosquitoes come out. You could do it then too.
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. All right. Got some far out facts for us, Jack?
Yes, we do have some far out facts. So we started this episode talking about our podcast and the podcast post and this dog discussion. So I thought it would be interesting. We have 5 interesting facts about podcasting.
That's cool.
So
I want to start us off.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So Sweden leads the world in podcasting consumption, with 47% of the population reporting that they enjoy listening to podcasts.
That's pretty good. I don't think we have 47% of our UpDoggers listening to the Sweet Spot yet.
We don't, but if we did, we'd be pretty happy, I think.
Yes, that would be amazing.
I will tell you, I didn't even listen to podcasts until we started podcasting. So
I find it enjoyable. I listen to all sorts of different podcasts. Kat and I were listening to this podcast yesterday because we there was something that we were like, what did we say about that or whatever? So we ended up listening to our podcast. And then I just listened to a bunch of them. Music podcasts are probably the one I listen to the most.
Yeah, I'm in the sciencey realm, brain science and nerdy science stuff, alien stuff. Of course, I'm talking about alien stuff. All right, what's the next one?
All right, next one. So this I found this interesting. So Twitter, or I guess it's now known as X, was born out of a failed podcasting platform. So launched in 2005, Noah Glass, his original company was called Odd Blog, A-U-D, odd, like auditory, Odd Blog. And the idea was that a user would call a telephone number, which would then turn their recorded message into an audio file hosted on the internet, basically like a speech to podcast converter. So this was 2005. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a long, I mean, 20 years ago.
And that's what Twitter was supposed to be. And then Twitter, of course, became what it is, and now it is X.
Interesting how technology has grown. I was just like 2005. It doesn't sound like that long ago, but that was
Yeah.
20.
Yeah, I mean this platform is not that
Yeah,
old.
so interesting. That is an interesting one. All right, so one of the earliest MP3 podcasts was a Grateful Dead song.
Deadheads.
Dave Weiner discovered how to integrate MP3 files into an RSS feed. I remember RSS feeds. Used to use those back in the early 2000s. On January 11th, 2001, Weiner posted on his weblog to show that he had been able to include an MP3 track. His chosen track was Truckin' by the Grateful Dead.
All right, raise your hands if you know that song. All right. I counted, there was 314 UpDog listeners that raised their hands. Excellent.
Good job,
All right,
guys.
next one. Microsoft was not happy that podcast was named after the iPad or iPod
iPod.
rather. So here's how that happened. Back in 2004, there was a reporter who was tasked with writing an article about audio blogging. So that's what it was called back then, was audio blogging. Due to its growing popularity, he suggested some words that maybe could take the place of audio blogging.
Mhm.
And one of them that he came up with was podcasting, and it sort of stuck. By 2005, the word was such common knowledge, it had been added to the Oxford English Dictionary. So podcasting is, the word has been around for 20 years, since 2005. Everybody's happy about it, apparently, except Microsoft.
Yeah, I can understand why they're not making any money off of that. All right. So, this is one of the ones that I listen to. So, the most popular podcasts today are the Joe Rogan Experience and the Crime Junkies. Both of these have over 500 million streams.
That's crazy.
A lot of people listening.
Yep.
A lot of people. Yeah, I've heard a bunch of Joe Rogan stuff. Obviously, he's the most popular podcaster out there. So,
Well,
makes
so I'll give you guys a report because I was looking at our numbers recently. And when I add up all of our listeners from YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes, approximately, different episodes are more than others, but approximately we are at about 300 listeners every week, which was a goal that
was our
Dre and I
goal.
had when we started this. And
Yeah.
at the beginning, we had about 35 people listening on a
Yeah.
regular basis. So that's awesome. We're super glad that this group is growing. And I've been putting it in the posts on Facebook, but essentially anytime that you guys comment on one of my posts advertising the weekly podcast, anytime you comment on a post on Facebook or on our YouTube page when you listen to an episode, basically comments force the algorithm to push it out to other people, and then other people find out about it. And so you guys, our listeners, have been helping us grow this audience. And so 300 is kind of a benchmark goal that Dre and I had for this. And we're not quite there. We're just like right under it. And it just depends on the week, how many we get. Sometimes we go over 300. Sometimes we're at like 500 on like a popular one. But anyways, please keep commenting. Please keep sharing this with other people. 300 is a benchmark goal for us. 500, just to be truth and honest,
And even-
500 is a goal that if you reach 500, you can monetize your podcast with a number of different platforms, which is something, Dre and I do a lot of this. I mean, we're doing this because we love UpDog and we love disc dogging. But we do put a lot of time and energy into it. So it would be awesome if we could, pick up a few commercials to put in our podcast. You guys would have to listen to them, of course, but wouldn't take too much time. And then, Dre and I would both get a quarter each time that one of those would happen. But a quarter is better than nothing.
Yes,
So,
it is.
anyway, thank you guys for pushing out the comments and sharing this with other people because it's exciting to see it getting more popular.
What aside from our podcast, what would you say is one that you listen to most often, or that you like a lot?
So I like I said, a lot of music podcasts. I I mean, I don't have to, I think you guys all know it about Cat, but like most of my music influence, like the music that I listen to the most is from the 80s and probably like the early 90s. And so I listen to podcasts about those artists. They're pretty cool. Like some, if you and they have this for any music genre. I've seen a bunch of them out there where like they'll take two albums, let's say, and pit them against each other. Like two albums that came out maybe the same year, and they each have 8 songs on them. And they'll get a panel together, and they'll just go song by song and like vote which song do you like the best on track one, which song do you, and it's kind of a cool way to like remember the album
Yeah,
and hear all the different songs. They just
you live
play a
it. Yeah.
snippet of it, and then people comment on it, and in your head you're like, oh, I like this one better, or I like that one better, and I don't know. Cat doesn't understand why I listen to music podcasts when I could just be listening to the song itself and not someone talking about the song. I mean, I like both of them. So
Yeah,
anyway, music podcasts are probably my favorite right now.
that's cool.
Well, and you said anything about outer space, Dre?
Um, yeah, I mean,
Anything about the
I was just
aliens taking over?
I don't actually. I was just looking because I was like, I wonder what my favorite one is, and my top ones aren't alien ones. I would say it's probably like Mel Robbins or Huberman Lab. Huberman Lab is he's a brilliant neuroscientist, so he just has all kinds of really cool brain stuff about health. A lot of so I guess it's still nerdy. It's really nerdy science stuff. But I would say probably Huberman Lab is and Mel Robbins. Mel Robbins has a lot of really good positive mindset stuff. And Huberman Lab has a lot of really cool sciencey stuff, brain hacking, health hacking. So both of those kind of health, mental health, and physical health
I
science.
mean, disc doggers go on a lot of road trips, I know, and you're always trying to fill the time on road trips. So I love hearing about different podcasts, and like, there's not really I mean, I haven't listened to one that I've been like, that was horrible. That was a waste of my time. Like, I mean,
Right,
some of them I don't go back to as much or ever, but I mean, they're all a unique learning experience.
right.
So definitely like
Feels time.
finding out about different ones is cool.
Yeah, you should check out Huberman Lab. I think you'd like some of their cool brain stuff.
They're
Um,
the ones that I have that are not music. Now people are like, all right, can we just
yeah, we need
finish
to know
this?
what else you
Can we
got,
just
Jay.
finish this podcast? Jeez. Um, so the ones that I have that are not music there's one called Stuff to Blow Your Mind. I don't know
Oh,
if
that's
you've
cool.
heard about that one. And they're different. They're just different topics, and they're like 30 to 45-minute episodes. One was about like the one that I listened to uh, was about the one that sticks in my head is about how orcas are evil.
Yeah, they're like the main. I'm finding. I just looked up your podcast. I'm gonna follow it. I followed it. So yeah, they're like the main predator of the ocean. They're an apex predator. And man, I've seen some crazy
and they're
videos like
and they're
seals
evil.
fighting, and they like shove, and they like it's just crazy. Evil.
Yeah. Like they're not just doing it just because they need food.
Oh no, they like to
They're they're just they're just being bullies.
they like to beach up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apex predator. But I mean, you could say that about most apex predators, even on land. They enjoy the fight. Cattle dogs, right?
I
They
mean,
look
I think they need to listen to the end of our podcast. Please be kind to each other and be kind to your
kind to your
animals.
dogs,
That goes for cattle dogs and orcas as
and
well.
for orcas. All
Um,
right.
and that
Topic
last one, Dre, 99% invisible. Have you heard of that one?
No, I'm gonna look
That's
that.
another one that's cool with like different topics. Um,
99% invisible. It came up. Podcast Roman Mars. It's on design. What does that
like
mean?
like one of them is about like these are just a couple of the latest episodes. One is about tuberculosis and how it's still the world's deadliest curable disease. But then like the next week you'll be on something totally different. Like the next week after that is talking about tax forms and how they came about, and Albert Einstein and what he had to do with the 1099 form. Like just weird stuff like that
Totally
I don't know,
random. Totally
find
random.
interesting.
All right. Well, I have 2 new podcasts to listen to now. Thanks, Jack.
No problem.
And for our listeners, share the UpDog podcast because that's the one we want more listeners for. And these other ones are great too, but share
Yeah,
the UpDog.
they're already probably at 500. We need to get to 500.
Yep, they're a little over 500, I would say.
All right, guys. Hopefully we see you out on an UpDog field sometime soon. And just like the orcas and the cattle dogs,
Be kind to each other.
and be kind to your animals. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Find your
that's-
points, people.